welcome, Jono. It's lovely to have you here. Would be sadly, you were plunged into that tinnitus maze. How did that kind of start historically? What happened to you, Jono, firstly?
Rewind. So ex muso. We all do that, don't you? It depends what you play. You just stipulate what guess what I used to play. Yeah, I suppose for me, with regards to the tinnitus, I mean that was a sign really for me. But rewind sort of 15 years before that, into my, I suppose, early 20s, and getting established as a working musician, and this is great, and gigs and stuff, and doing anything really just to make a living. So it's fantastic. Moved up to London. Yeah, so normal sort of jobbing musician, freelance musician. Fantastic. Out, some weeks 3-4 nights a week, maybe. It was great. I was living the dream. Earning money out of a plank of wood and 4 pieces of wire. That's all I wanted to do. And then, obviously gigs, and it was all, mainly backline, normal backline setup. Some gigs bigger than others. But I was aware, after the gigs that, most gigs for 15 years, it was having this ringing afterwards. And it's depending on what gigs I was doing, different bands and stuff like that. Some, some pop, some function, some sort of quite heavy sort of rock sort of stuff. But I was aware that after the gigs, you'd go home, you'd have this muffledness, like, being to a nightclub. And it's what I know now is temporary threshold shift. And the ringing in my ears, but that's what happened. I just thought it's just an occupational hazard. I didn't think anything about it, because the morning after it'd gone away. Normally it'd go away. And also when we were younger, same with socially going to gigs as well. Going to see bands as a musician. Into music, going out, seeing live gigs, being down the front. All that sort of stuff. It was like, oh, wow, how's that loud? I can't hear anything, and coming out from clubs and gigs or coming off stage and go, wow, that was mad, or that was too loud. The monitor mix was rubbish, whatever. So it was there, but it went away. And then it was, I suppose, how old was I then? Mid-30s, I suppose it was, late 30s. And then I went on holiday, and it didn't go well. I think I was gigging on the Saturday and Sunday, and I went away on holiday on the Monday, and it was still there on the Monday, and then on the Tuesday, and then on the Wednesday, and it was just like I was on this 2-week holiday abroad, and yeah, that was it. Freaked me out, freaked me out. Didn't sleep for 2 weeks, ruined the holiday. Came back. And I was aware also in some social situations that I was struggling to try and focus on what people were saying.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I thought it was like, maybe another muso joke. It was kind of like, where you're probably listening to the music more than focusing on what people are saying. But I was aware, in certain situations I couldn't. And everybody else seemed to be able to hear everybody all right, and I couldn't anyway. So I did. I went for a hearing test. I thought it was more so at home socially, getting accused of selective hearing and stuff like that. Seriously, if the radio was on and can't you hear me, sort of thing. You need to get your hearing tested. So I did, and there we are. So I had an audiometric testing, pure tone audiometric hearing test, and I don't think I'd had one since I was kind of, I don't know, maybe at school. Which is nuts, isn't it? So considering you have your eyes tested sort of for years, and that was it, bang. And then the audiologist said, it came out of the booth, and he said, I thought I did all right. I thought, I can hear everything pretty much. He said, a classic noise-induced hearing loss. He said, have you worked in the aircraft industry?
Oh, no.
And I said, no, I've worked in the music industry. And he goes, well, didn't you wear any earplugs? And I said, well, what are you talking about? I don't want wearing earplugs. I want to hear the music. I don't want to block it out, because of course, maybe I might have tried earplugs, you know, but it was just the ones you'd wear, you know, the foam ones just were complete block. No one wore them, and there was too much occlusion. You couldn't really sing. Yeah. I didn't really sing any lead vocals, but backing vocals you couldn't really, you know. So that was it. So the tinnitus, and that was it. So this, he said, that notch there, he said that proves that it's not hereditary. He goes, this is externally, this is damage that's been done to the sensory hair cells in the cochlea. And I was like, what are you talking about? So explained how the ear worked. So there you go. You know, working as a musician, I didn't even know how the ear worked.
No, me neither.
And it was like, and he said, well, and I said, well, okay, so what do we do about it? And he goes, well, you can't, that's it. I was like, what do you mean? I said, well, I'll just stop gigging for a bit, and it will. No, that's it. You know, the sensory hair cells die off. So I, my left hand side is well, both similar, but more so this side. Also standing stage right, I suppose, as well. But 246 kilohertz, more sort of 424 kilohertz. I've got about 42, 45 decibel loss.
Crikey.
So that's a big notch, you know. That's why he said that's why you can't hear people in noisy situations, or you can hear them. I said I can hear them, but I can't quite make out the sounds. I said it's like having a graphic equalizer, and you sort of. He said, yeah, because all the consonant sounds, sounds, which are really important in our language system as well.
Yeah.
He said they all sit in that frequency where you've lost it. So you're hearing other things, but not hearing those consonant sounds. So making out the sounds. And then I realized how much I was kind of lip reading a little bit, trying to make up the information. But yeah, socially was a problem. And I'd go to a restaurant, and, you know, I mean, my wife at the time said, oh, she could tell I'd just disengage with the conversation, just sit there going, yeah, yeah. Or if I was at a dinner party, I'd have to sit this way round. So I'd have, you know, if you got your good ear, you know, so, but it was a struggle, but you just switched off.
It's unbelievably tragic. I know the same thing. I didn't want to just deliberately just butt in there, Jono. It suddenly reminded me of, I know I have hearing loss as well. And I just know as well also that when it's time to have earwax removed, everybody starts to lisp, and I hear lisping all the time. And because I use ear protection, and I actually so have to thank you and your company, because I definitely don't think, well, I know I wouldn't be doing music unless I had, in the early days, which is when you used to produce the ER range.
Yeah.
I've got them all. I've got them all here. I keep them all the time. You've
got a little ACS museum.
Yeah, it really is. It's right from your very early days of early creation right to the modern day. It really is. But they have been a lifesaver. I went from the 8s to the 15s to the 25s to the 27s to, I think I've got even stronger, to the total blocks. They've been so useful to me. So how did you get around the tinnitus and the hearing loss? What happened to you? Did you have to wear hearing aids, Jono?
No, I didn't. I mean, first of all, it was like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, it is.
Then I got a bit paranoid about it. So I did. Obviously, I couldn't just stop gigging. And like most musicians, you're doing a, you know, portfolio career. So it was, you know, gigging was my main bread and butter. I got involved with the. I was doing some teaching then for this national. I was just teaching bass, actually, in Cambridge. On a course, but I mean, you can't just stop. I mean, what else do? You know, it's like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to get the dreaded proper, you know, get a proper job. So, but I carried on, but it was getting more. I was getting more and more stroppy. Jono stroppy. Some people might be laughing out there, but I did get a bit stroppy, because it was just like, oh, just turn it down. You know, Christ, backline. You know, it's just like, you know, the drums on stage, you know, and then you got the backline in it. So, but I did, it just got to me in the end. It was just, and I became very cynical about the whole thing. I think, well, you know, I've damaged my hearing, you know. Also, we all want, acclimate, you know, we all want, you know, we want a bit of fame and whatever, and it was just like, where's all this going? So yeah, I pretty got depressed about it for sure. And then coping with it, and I'm quite a light sleeper anyway, and this sort of compounded the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so listening to things at night, radio. But of course, if you're with a partner or, you know, married or whatever, that's a bit of a problem. And I couldn't really, you know, wear the earphones in bed. It kept falling out and stuff, and you know, so yeah, it was a problem. Yeah, I mean, I for years, really, it was just nightmare. And then, you know, but again, and where do you go for help? You know, you get referred on to an audiologist, but you know, it's just one of those occupational things, really.
I think one of the things you've done to really turn it around is obviously what you're doing now, and that's some way of making sense of something so dreadful. And it was the same for me, Jono. It was the idea of putting something back into the situation and going back into that arena, but going back into it in a different way, with a different light and a different perspective. And
Yeah.
what you've done, even with the T- is that you've really shown us a lot of kindness, and you've given us a chance to develop and try and establish ourselves. I'm truly grateful for that, Jono. I've got